Alright guys, let's do... Sorry you hear them two playing each other. Well, chasing each other. Let's do... Let's do the innocent looking 12-year-old boy who was responsible for deadly massacre.
Take a look at this boy. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see his face? Young and innocent, right? Well, that may not be true in this case because this boy is being accused of cold-heartedly killing a man in broad daylight.
When you look at a picture of him, you see him, he's a 12-year-old. I mean, he looks like a 12-year-old, and to see him involved in this
See,
kind
when
of
I was
crime,
12 years old, I didn't plan to do that crap.
This is the case of Jarrell Milton, the innocent-looking 12-year-old boy who was responsible for a deadly shooting. On June 29, 2015, police in Omaha, Nebraska responded to a shooting that was taking place at a park in broad daylight. When they arrived at the scene, they found two men on the ground with a serious gunshot wound. The men were identified as 31-year-old Jamel Ray and 30-year-old Charles Fisher. They had been gunned down miraculously at close range. Jamel died from his injuries while Charles was rushed to the hospital where he was treated and released. The police launched an investigation into the attack and soon arrested two suspects, but they were not what anyone would have expected. They were teen boys, 15-year-old Shante Vias Primes Willis and 17-year-old Jamar Milton. But what totally shocked everyone was when the police revealed that there was a third suspect in the mix, a 12-year-old boy by the name of Jarrell Milton, who was reportedly on the run.
Covering America Now, a story that may be hard to believe. A 12-year-old boy is wanted by police in Omaha, Nebraska in connection with the murder of a grown man. Police in Omaha have already arrested two suspects, a 17-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy. Those boys and the one still missing are charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors say the boys went to a park last week with a gun and shot two men, killing one of them. Police believe local gang members were attracting young kids and pushing them to commit crimes like this.
Jarrell and Jamar were actually brothers, and according to the police, they, together with another boy, had lured the two grown men into the park, claiming that they wanted to buy pot from them. But when the men showed up, the boys reportedly tried to rob them and ended up opening fire on them. The police believed that each of the three boys had carried a gun and that the shooting was gang-related. At the time of this incident, there were about 11 active gangs running the streets of Omaha, and the violent crimes rate was at an all-time high. The prosecution believed that Jarrell and his brother were members of one of these gangs called the Nike Street Gang, whose members could easily be identified by the brand of shoes and clothes that they wear.
The real concern is that they may be doing that in order to have those younger persons actually do the dirty work of the older people, knowing that the consequences for the younger children are going to be less significant. For example, juvenile court.
But how did a 12-year-old get caught up in all of this? Born in a crime-ridden neighborhood, Jarrell Milton was the youngest of 7 children of Liana Moss and Jarveris Milton. According to Jarrell's aunt, Diane, Liana was a young mother who practically raised the kids by herself.
As the mother who was a baby, having 7 kids stair step practically by herself. Overwhelmed, tired. The system failed her.
The father, Jarveris, who in his own admission was an active gang member, was living in Minnesota while the kids lived in Omaha. When Jarrell was only 4 years old, his mom got arrested and imprisoned for felony assault. And with no one to look after them, the kids went and were sent to live in a foster home. Then, in 2010, their dad was also arrested and charged for reportedly killing his cousin in a narcotics deal gone wrong. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. And now, with Jarrell and his older brother also facing murder charges, their aunt said that the boys never really stood a chance.
They grew up in a neighborhood that was infested with drugs and crime, and that's all they grew up around all that. They never had a check.
As you can already guess, this was not the first time that the brothers were getting in trouble. In 2013, Jarrell was reportedly captured on CCTV stealing candy from a convenience store.
Walked around for like 10 minutes, looking at stuff, watching me, and I was watching them, and then all of a sudden they just bounced out the door and ran. It's kind of shocking, because, you know, they're not the best kids and they steal, but you don't think they'd go kill somebody.
After the shooting at the park, Jarrell was on the run for a week, with police even offering a reward of $25,000 for any tips leading to his arrest. Then, on July 7th, 2015, police received reports that he had been spotted in Minneapolis, Minnesota, nearly 400 miles from Omaha. He was arrested that same day outside an apartment where he was reportedly living with his relatives.
Investigations say 12-year-old Jarrell Milton was arrested without incidents outside a Minneapolis apartment building. Those sources say when Milton was surrounded by U.S. Marshals, he put his hands in the air and began crying. Now he awaits being taken back to Omaha, where he faces first-degree murder charges.
It happened so fast.
Jimmy Williams was outside the apartments at 1707 3rd Avenue South when he saw U.S. Marshals and Minneapolis police surround a group of people walking out the front door. He watched as they took 12-year-old Jarrell Milton into custody.
He looked like a child, like anybody's kid that you would just be kind to. He didn't look like an adult to me, so I couldn't figure it out.
It wasn't until after the arrest he learned the child he saw put in the back of a squad car is wanted for murder.
He didn't fight or anything. He had relatives with him, and they were adults. They weren't going to let him do anything stupid. So I'm sure they were just as shocked as we were. The looks on their faces explained everything.
Following Jarrell's arrest, his aunt gave a phone interview to a reporter in which she claimed that she didn't know what had happened or that her nephew was running from the police. She said that when she saw Jarrell, he looked scared and dazed and just wanted to hug her.
He just hugged me. He held me. He just hugged me. I didn't ask him no question, and he didn't tell me anything. He just held me. The boy is afraid. He's scared. And he kind of looked like he was just dazed. Like he ain't there. He's a baby. He's a baby in a messed up world.
Jarrell's dad, Jarveris, also gave a phone interview from prison in which he defended his youngest son, saying that while he was present at the shooting, he was not the one that pulled the trigger.
Come on, we talking about a kid, a baby, a 12-year-old, but y'all fail to realize it's not your son, it's not you guys, it's kids. It's my kids, and I know what Jarrell's capable of, and murder is not one.
Jarveris went on to say that if his sons were guilty of the crime, he only had himself to blame because he wasn't a good father and didn't set the best examples.
I did a lot of wrong, and I was young, I was stupid, and I was raising kids while I was a kid.
Sadly, there was nothing he could do for his kids now. Despite his young age, Jarrell was charged as an adult with first-degree murder alongside his older brother, Ann Shantayavis. This would have gotten him a life sentence if found guilty, but fortunately for him, the law in Nebraska had been changed earlier that year, making it illegal for someone under the age of 14 to be charged in a district or county court. And being only 12 at the time, Jarrell was taken to a juvenile court.
In court, at just 12 years old, Jarrell Milton looks to stand under 5 feet tall. He wore a blue jumpsuit, handcuffs, and ankle chains. Below those chains, a pair of Nike shoes. Prosecutors Friday revealed the child is a documented member of the Nike street gang.
It's extraordinarily concerning. It seems that the gangs are recruiting younger and younger these days.
Jarrell's two cousins showed up to court flaunting Nike apparel as well. They say they don't know anything about the gang or the shooting.
I am not letting my
Jarrell
kids
was
be in
charged
the
with a
gang.
lesser crime
I
of
am sorry.
conspiracy to commit a robbery after it was revealed that he had not pulled the trigger. He was sentenced to live at a group home and would be on probation until he's 19. Meanwhile, his brother Jamar was not so lucky. He was found guilty of second-degree murder, first-degree assault, and use of a weapon, and was sentenced to 58 to 82 years in prison. He'll be eligible for parole when he's in his 50s. But from the looks of this video, it seems like he doesn't really care.
Yeah, I'm good.
Do you have any thoughts on the emergency today?
Nah, I ain't tripping.
As for 15-year-old Chantal Yavis, he tried to get his case transferred to a
I'm not
juvenile
mad.
court,
That's
but
what
his request
tripping
was denied.
means.
He later pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 30 to 50 years behind bars. But the story doesn't end there. When Jarrell was placed in a group home, the judge ordered that he undergo treatment in hopes that he'll be rehabilitated. Unfortunately, that did not seem to have worked, because the youngster continued getting in trouble with the law at his group home and was often running away and getting mixed up with some not-so-good people. A news item from April 2019 shows the police asking for the public's help in locating the then 16-year-old after he had escaped from his group home. He was later found in South Dakota, where he had reportedly been living with relatives and was placed back in the group home. At the time, the prosecution asked that the teen's probation be revoked, saying that he had used up all his chances and should be sent to a youth rehabilitation and treatment center. But according to this Facebook post by Omaha police, Jarrell never showed up for his probation hearing in January 2020. His mother told the court that he had been arrested in South Dakota and was facing charges. What do you think about this case? Did Jarrell ever stand a chance of being rehabilitated? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section, and if you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up.
I will see you my fourth one, so I see you then.